Hey there, good afternoon, everyone. This is Trader Tim from eMini Mind on February 21st, 2019. I'm going to do a recap of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday's trades. I didn't have a lot of trades, but I had some pretty good luck with on the winning side. So I wanted to run through those so over here on the ES, on my left chart, I've got the 30-minute of the E-mini S&P. Down here, I have the NYSE tick that we'll be talking about. And then on the right, I've got a 512 tick chart with the Heikin-Ashi candlestick study. For those that were in the trading room on Tuesday, you know that I didn't have any trades in the room itself in the first 90 minutes or so. We drew up. This is kind of where we left things. We had drawn up the halfway back from low to high of the morning, and we traded there. And if you remember, I drew up the opposing short and wanted to make sure that we didn't just stop at the short, which we did. And so when you get in a situation where you have a 50%, in this case, long that's traded, then a 50% short that's traded, there's a good chance that we might chop around between the two, or at least be very messy along the entry here, or at least along the short entry. So, having a little bit of patience, letting that 61.8 break, and then either coming in and taking the very first setup that broke through the 61.8. So just using the swing low before the break of the short to the high after the break of the short. You could use that as your entry. I waited I used this low point and I drew it to this high point and I got in over here. So let me get rid of that short. I used 74.75s as my entry. It went in, a point, and then took off from there. And so, there's a couple of ways to enter, but the most important part is letting, that bigger level trade, this big level down here, 71, it's 88 is what the halfway back reads, but letting that big level sort of get that confirmation, half the time it might stop at the level like this, and you say, oh, well, why wouldn't you just place your limit order right there? Because the other half of the time, we go straight through that 50%, and if you place a limit order, you're going to get stopped out. So, as a way to combat, those losers that blow right through your entry and right through your stop, and it's like ding ding on your trade ladder, I like to let the bigger level set up and then look for the smaller setup to follow. So that was my one trade. I trailed it up here. I used the larger 71 target up here. We didn't actually, or down here rather, as sort of, okay, where are we likely to run to? And it was a 2780. And then at that point, I got extra aggressive with my trail stop and just came in here and trailed each candle's low until we broke, and I got taken out up here by 81s. So that's kind of how I managed that trade. It was a little after. It was 2 hours into the day. So I've noticed in the last couple of weeks that the mornings have been a little slow. So I have been sticking around, like being a little bit more patient at the start of the morning and then kind of looking for a trade maybe at that 90-minute mark. So that was the only trade I had for Tuesday, but it was a good one. And then let's go to Wednesday. Wednesday was just a pretty messy day by the end of the day, but it started out okay. We started Wednesday with things we knew. We were an inside day because we opened here, and this is the high of the day, and this is the low of the day. And so, I used those highs and lows as reference points, and that kind of led to my first trade. Just going through my notes. Whoops. If we come into Wednesday, um, so it was inside day from the start. We had a low tick. I think we had a low tick at the right at that 45-minute mark, or at the 15 minutes in down here. Yeah, that's right. So we had a low tick that lined up with the low price right at 46s down here. So that was the first setup that I took, 78, 75, and you can see it went in 3 ticks, but easily, these kind of trades are nice when your stop, a 78.75, the low of the day was a 77.75. So my 6-tick stop was below the low of the day. You may have noticed that the swing low up here was not broken, but when we have a low tick that lines up with lows, I'm okay sort of the nicey tick. When that low lines up with lows, that has more weight to me than the swing high break. You can wait for the break and try and get in. Yeah, man. Just too quick on the trigger. Try and get in on the next setup. Sometimes it pulls back. This one didn't all the way to the 50, but I just used these swing lows as a way to trail. I got a few points out of that to the upside. And then we really started going into a pretty choppy situation by drawing the first half hour, high and low. We kind of stayed within that first 30-minute range for about the first hour of the day. We had a fair bit of news on Wednesday. Let's see. I think we had a report at the top of the hour. Yeah. So that brought us over to about an hour in, and this double top setup here. So I've tried to trade very, very lightly if we're within the first 30-minute range. And the trades that I take, I'm trying to take trades at the bottom of the first 30-minute range or shorts at the top of the first 30-minute range. If you come in here and you draw a long setup like this, well, that comes down and then ends up failing the 61.8. And then you come in here and you draw a short setup, and that ends up failing the 61.8. So having a little bit more patience, watching for a high tick that lines up with highs is a much better opportunity. So I took the long down at lows. The next trade I had was I was looking at this short here. But what kept me out of the trade, it was a really nice setup. We had a high tick that lined up with the high price, and we pulled back and we traded right at the 50%. But the long traded first. If you look at this swing low to swing high, the long touched perfectly. And so when I come in here, I see this happening first. Then I come in here and I draw the short. And I say, well, I can't take the short because the long is already in play. This 27.81s had already triggered, had already traded. Now, I didn't take this particular long, but that kept me out of the short. And that's something that happens quite a bit as a way to kind of prevent me from taking certain trades and getting stopped out. Always drawing the opposing setup is a really good way to help that. Then the 2 trades that I took after that, they didn't have, of course, this one didn't have a high tick at highs, but it was a really nice double top. And if I draw from swing low to swing high, we can see the nice The dip here, we bounced off of the 50% the first time, and then we had a little double top. We sold off. We broke the swing low. We broke the 61.8. So kind of checking all the boxes. And this right about 85.50s, we're kind of getting into the high of the prior day. So I'm always looking for resistance when we're inside the prior day. So we had a nice short setup at a likely resistance point. And so I took this 84.25 and just wrote it down. I ended up having my stop above this guy here. So basically took a little bit off at the negative 23% target, and then the remainder of the position I had broken up into the swing high and then trailing